Hey learners, this is Moshumi. Today we are going to learn about very interesting and well-known topic named economic inequality. The first question that arises to our mind that what is economic inequality? Economic inequality is the unequal distribution of income and opportunity between different groups in society. It is a concern in almost all countries around the world, especially underdeveloped and developing countries. In an underdeveloped economy, inequality in the distribution of income and wealth increases initial stage that increases economic inequality especially. Therefore, in India, there is acute inequality in the distribution of income, and behind this inequality lies the inequality in the distribution of land ownership, inequality in distribution of capital in private sector, etc. Now we shall discuss all these inequalities. But for our first inequality, that is income inequality. As you can see, this picture has two types of people. One has lots of money and he is fat also. It means he is so rich. But other has a few. He is also thin and he is poor. This picture depicts that how money unequally distributes among people that creates inequality in economy. In this picture, we can see that the poor people are carrying the burden of the rich people and the rich are ready to make more money without ever thinking of the poor. And that depicts income inequality. So, what is the meaning of income inequality? The actual definition. Income inequality is an extreme disparity of income distributions with a high concentration of income, usually in the hands of a small percentage of a population. When income inequality occurs, there is a large gap between wealth of the one type of the population segment compared to the another type of the population sector. Now, let's see the causes. Unemployment and underemployment responsible for low level of income, and also sufficient employment has not been created during the process of economic development. Therefore, the income has not been distributed among large number of individuals. It creates income inequality. Next, education facilities are not same. And now the vital portion, inflation. When prices rise, workers in the organized sector get higher dearness allowances which compensate the effect of the rise in the price level. But the poor unorganized workers do not get such increase in the wage, and therefore the real income falls. In this way, inequality in the distribution income increases. And that's because of the inflation. Now, the fourth point is a vital cause, is poverty. We know all about this. Final rates of the taxation is a very high for middle class. In India, until recently, the rates of the personal income taxation were very high. For this reason, people try to evade taxes. This factor is responsible for inequality in the distribution of income. And the final and not very important point is nepotism that causes the income inequality. Now let's see the inequality in the distribution of land ownership. The ownership of land is very important because the owner of a plot of land is also the owner of the crop raised on that plot of land. As we see in the picture, how can a rich man forcefully buy a land from a poor people with his money power? Therefore, a big landowner will be the owner of the large quantity of agriculture output than a small landowner. The distribution of the income in the rural areas is also highly related with this unequal distribution of land. Land inequality mainly appears in rural village areas in India nowadays. Also, it will seen in many third world countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, etc. In order to remove the inequality in the distribution of the land ownership, land selling laws have been passed. Now, the third part is inequality in the distribution of capital in private sector. If there is inequality in the distribution of the capital in the private corporate sector, such as Wipro, Microsoft, Nokia, Dell, etc., it implies that there is private concentration in the economy. By private concentration, we mean that a few industrial firms control the lion's share of output. Such concentration is based on the ownership of the industrial units. Private concentration may be of two types: monopoly firms and monopoly houses. Let's see some examples. If we look at this Indian economy, we see some inequality in the distribution of the capital in the private corporate sector, such as Vival, Ashirvad, AIM, John Players, Bingo, etc. That all are the base company of ITC. Finally, we concentrate the impact of economic reforms that which can stop these types of the inequalities. Growth rate, reduction in poverty, employment, increased agriculture facilities, and industrial growth. So, we learn about the economic inequality, and in economic inequality it has three types. One, income inequality. Second, the distribution inequality of the land ownership. And the third, inequality in the distribution of the capital in the private corporate sector. And finally, we know about impact of the economic reforms that which can stop these inequalities. So thank you and subscribe for more content.